Welcome to the Gruber Morning Show. This is the EV portion. I'm Pete Gruber.
I'm Mark Schaffner. Good morning. Welcome, everybody. Glad to have you back again this week.
And a reminder, in an hour at 11 o'clock, the Tesla Roadster podcast starts. And that is going to be focused a lot on Tesla Roadsters.
Yes.
But in this podcast, we're going to talk about all the electric vehicles. As always, we want to see you chime in. Let us know where you're coming in from. If you have opinions, if you have information you'd like to add to what we're talking about, we love the engagement.
Absolutely, we do. You know, I'm looking at our background. I really like it. I think AI's come a long ways. And I just realized as soon as we flashed it up, AI does not know how to write backwards. That's a circular display in the middle there. It's supposed to say motor trend on both sides.
Oh, you're right.
And the back side is not, I don't know exactly what that is.
So we're still safe. AI is not going to take over the world.
Not going to take our jobs quite yet.
Right. But the reason for the image and motor trend on those in that news studio is it's one of the articles that we're going to talk about this morning. And Lucid got some love for motor trend. But in the meantime, we've got a few other topics. Looks like we've got some people chiming in. Instagram, Thomas.080 says, hi, welcome. Thanks for joining us. We've got YouTube, Connor T. Hi from Utah. Thanks for joining us again. And so, Mark, what is this about Canoe?
You know, we've used to talk a lot about Canoe, and it seems like over the last several months, Canoe just kind of stopped being in the news.
I remember, though, why we talked so much about Canoe. Do you remember Richard, one of our social media members, who owned a little bit of stock in Canoe?
Oh, he did. That's right.
And he was very interested in what was going on with Canoe. But yeah, they're back in the news. So what's going on?
Well, good things are happening. On April 1st, or around April 1st, the company's management had gone out and said Canoe might not be a going concern. That there was a risk, and so their stock tanked. It was down like 80%. And now, more recently, they've had a real good spate of good news. The most important thing for them is they got money coming in. They got orders coming in. Canoe has gone into an agreement with Go-To Delivery to deliver up to 90 of their vans.
Okay.
And Go-To Delivery is not a big company per se. They're a regional delivery company. They work out of Virginia and the Chesapeake Bay area. And they'll do what's called last mile delivery. Think of here in Arizona, think of the Amazon vans that go from the distribution centers to houses. So I went ahead and did some additional digging because this is the first thing I've seen on Canoe in months. And in addition to what I saw on April 1st with Canoe being a going concern issue, I learned that Canoe's had other good things happen to it recently. They are, as of the end of June, part of the Russell 3000 stock index. So they're officially listed on the stock exchange now, where they had not been. And they also won an International Design Award for one of their lifestyle vans.
Oh.
This award called the Red Dot Design Award, and they gave Canoe a best of the best design, not specific to the auto industry per se, as it is to anyone who wants to come in, compete for the award. And so it'll be robotics, it'll be cars, it'll be whatever types of things that are out there. And it's a pretty prestigious international award that's been around since the 1950s.
Oh, interesting.
So Canoe continues to get agreements, mostly with commercial or government customers, such as the state of Oklahoma, post office, NASA, Walmart, now this Go-To delivery vehicle service. Overall, they've got orders for around 10,000 of their vans.
Very good. So they may make it. You know, they're one of the EV designers that subscribed to a new direction in car design, where the front looks like the back, or vice versa.
Yes.
Zoox is another one. You know, you really can't tell. But yeah, that's great news, actually. And you mentioned the Russell Index. They're now listed. I've never heard of that stock exchange.
The Russell 3000 Index is for smaller or newer companies typically. It's more of what they call a small cap index. And it's a fairly well-known index amongst investors. And so for Canoe to make it onto that index is actually a pretty good thing, because just like getting listed as on the NASDAQ or NYSE exchanges, to get listed on the Russell index, that means that the curators of the Russell 3000 have decided that Canoe is a strong enough and viable enough company to throw into that list of 3,000 stocks that they hold.
Interesting. Well, looks like we got some more people chiming in. YouTube, Sammy Kamal says, let's go Lucid family. Woohoo, love you guys. Hang in there, Sammy, because the next topic is going to be regarding Lucid.
Yes.
YouTube, Highlander, thanks for joining us, Highlander. He says, hi, gang. Look forward to an awesome show, as always. And let me throw in your favorite phrase, kindness is always free.
Kindness is always free.
YouTube, Sammy Kamal says, Lucid, oh, they're over $3. Look at that, $3.19 now.
Yeah, Lucid has been doing good things recently. When they published their most recent production numbers and sales numbers, second quarter was up over first quarter and once again beat estimates on the street. So a real nice bump to Lucid going on right now.
I'm so happy that Niels is joining us from the Bion Danish Genome Institute. Haven't seen you in a few shows there, Niels. And the question is, why are there so many subscribers but so few viewers? You know, we wonder the same thing. Do we not, social media team? And we don't have an answer to that yet. But in the meantime, the subscribers keep coming in, and you know, they must be the silent majority. You know, one of the things I do have to add to that, just yesterday, again, I was talking to a customer, new customer, and he says, you know, I watch all your shows. Not everybody chimes in. Not everybody leaves comments. I think it's the fanboys that love to, you know, engage after you do a video or after you do a podcast.
I think it is well. And it's just odd, because sometimes our podcasts get 300, 400, 500 views. Other times they'll get a couple thousand views. There have been times when they've got thousands of views. Yeah. And you never know what it is. Yeah. It's kind of like the TikTok video we did of the guy, spontaneous, took us 30 seconds to shoot, because the guy was laying down in a charging spot, keeping other people out so he could eventually push his car in. The next thing you know, that goes viral.
Yeah. 6 million views now. I checked the other day.
Oh my gosh. That's crazy.
Yeah. So anyway, thanks for joining us, Niels. When we figure it out, we'll certainly let everybody know. Highlander says, Sandy gave a great review on the Canoe product. Okay, great. For those of you that aren't familiar, Sandy Munro has a channel, Munro Live and Munro and Associates, and they do regular videos and presentations on various EV. He's also known as the Teardown Titan. So he's the type of guy that will buy a Cybertruck and take it completely apart.
Yes.
You know, the rest of us would be happy to just own one and drive it around a little bit rather than tear it down. Yeah.
Exactly. He's done that with the Lucid. He's done that with doing that with the Cybertruck now. And it's a great service to the community that he does.
You know, I can picture him as a kid. He was one of those kids that frustrated the parents because he took everything apart in the house.
Yeah, Dad says, Sandy, go mow the lawn. Well, I can't. Why not, Sandy? Well, the lawnmower's in pieces all across the garage floor.
I had to see what was inside, what made it tick. Yeah,
that's right.
God bless him. So then Instagram, EV Smoke ATX, Austin, Texas, showing love. Well, thanks for joining us. TikTok user with a bunch of numbers. Tesla to the moon. Yes, we agree. I don't know where it's at this morning. Chime in, folks, if you can.
Tesla has been up a lot. Yeah. I checked this morning. They were about $255 a share, and they're up over 40% in the last month.
Yeah.
It's currently sitting at $263.
Oh, wow. Up another $10. It was at about $250. And,
yeah, it was about $253, $255.
Yeah. Well, so Tesla's finally getting some love, and I feel so bad for the short sellers.
I don't, but...
Oh, you don't?
No, I don't.
Well, it's an investment strategy. You know, it's like binary. It's, you know...
Yeah, it definitely is.
Niels is saying he suspects subscribers want unique content, or maybe Americans are still sleeping. Well, speaking of unique content, we have a video coming out here shortly on YouTube regarding Moore's Law. And I have never seen our team work as diligently and hard as they are on this one. It's been, what, guys, a month in development, and we're still not done?
It's been a couple months, actually. We started it, we filmed it just before you left for your vacation, and we've been working on it since then.
Hmm. And Cass, who is a outstanding editor, is actually inserting animations, and it's going to be out maybe within the next couple 3 weeks or so. But it's what we call an evergreen video. It'll be relevant throughout history. So
I can't wait to see that one. I know a little about Moore's Law, and I'm looking forward to seeing the take that you guys have on it.
hmm Highlander says, I spent the first year and a half watching you guys when I got off work at 2 a.m. in the morning. Just saying. Well, that's true. There's an
That is
audience.
true.
Yeah. A lot of our traffic happens, though, after the podcasts. And then Sammy Kamal again. Please, everybody, show support. Hit the like button for Gruber Motor Company. Thank you.
Thank you, Sammy. On Instagram, Carlos Dustoko from Brazil coming in.
Brazil, yes. Thank you. I have a good friend that lives in Brazil now. Used to play soccer in Rochester, New York. He actually played with Pele at one point in his life.
Wow.
And he's retired now, of course. But very good friend. YouTube, again, Niels. Me, for example, find your Roadster channel more interesting because I learned something, but I don't have a Roadster. Niels, we can help with that. We have a Tesla Roadster matchmaking site on our website. And my opinion, this is a great time to buy because there's a glut right now, and the prices are so depressed.
They are. And, you know, some of those Roadsters, am I right in saying that you have at least a couple of Roadsters from Europe on that site?
Oh, yeah, yeah. There are, Switzerland, I think, is one. We've got Belgium. So all over the world, actually. We've had some from Australia at times.
Yes.
All right. We'll do the commercial later. You know what? We've got our feature now, which is the Motor Trend backdrop here. And it turns out that Lucid got some love from Motor Trend, and they call it the best and worst car we've ever had.
Yeah, both the best and worst. Well, you know, Motor Trend has been known as we look through stuff and see reviews from them. They tend to really skewer the EV community and the EVs in general. They hold a pretty high standard for their cars.
Yes.
So I get that. Sometimes we feel like the reviews are a little unfair, but generally they're very fair on the reviews. So Motor Trend did purchase a 2022 Lucid Air, and they drove it for a year. After driving that, first there was somebody from Detroit that drove it, then they drove it down to Los Angeles, and Zach Gale, the author of this particular article, then drove it for 6 months in the Los Angeles and Southern California area. He did an in-depth review on this, and he called Lucid both the best and worst car that he's ever driven. On the best side, he writes things like, the Lucid Air is so much more than just four-wheeled transportation. It's something special. And something like, driving the car is an experience that excites me to my core.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So he's really fallen for this car because this is a professional reviewer who's out there and doing this. And, you know, how many dozens of cars has he driven and done reviews on? I don't know, but I know it's a lot. He marvels that an automobile that offers more than 1,000 horsepower is still one of the most efficient cars in the market today of any fuel type. And he even said with one of the areas that he hung out in the Los Angeles area, he said the Mercedes-Benz EQS was much more popular just based on the area of town that he was in. And he said, you know, the Lucid got a lot more looks for those that go after that kind of thing because it's not a Mercedes, it's a Lucid.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
On the negative side, however, he said the Lucid talks about reliability issues. The 2022 Lucid on 2 occasions left him totally stranded. Went to the car, it wouldn't start. They went through, wouldn't turn on to the point that they had to. In one case, they were able to get Lucid to troubleshoot and help them get the car started. In the other case, they called a tow truck.
Wow.
The warranty replacements of things in the car, and this is over his 6-month period, not the entire year, included the steering wheel, included the rear drive unit, included front trim, and included the deck lid harness on the trunk. The trunk had stopped opening properly, and they determined it was that wiring harness. he concluded by saying, look, this is going to be a great car for those people who are still early adopters. They're fans, they want to drive the car, but the quality issues are going to stop the wider market from being real happy with Lucid. But he said, in spite of that, this is overall the best car he's ever driven. And he said, if Lucid can figure out some of their quality issues, watch out.
Mm-hmm.
So I thought that was a really cool article. I can't wait to eventually sit in and be able to drive one of those Lucids.
Totally. There's one in my neighborhood, by the way, and it is a distinctive look and feel. It's kind of like the Cybertruck. You know, you can see it 3 blocks away because of its shape, because of that light bar across the front. And I find that the Lucid has the same appeal to me, at least. And I'm a gearhead, you know, I admit it. But yeah, so it looks like, doesn't look like major design problems because they have one of the best designs, or maybe the best design in the EV business.
I think very possibly, yes, that they've got one of the best designs, if not the best out there.
So got a few comments coming in here. Niels, with my earlier offer to buy a Tesla Roadster, he says, Pete, thanks for the offer, but I want my 1,600 kilometer Aptera range.
Yes,
you know, that's another company. I hope they make it.
I do too.
From a design standpoint, from a performance standpoint, it just, I mean, it really pushes the envelope of what we expect from transportation.
By all means, a little city dwelling, more of a city dwelling type of car, but it has enough energy coming in through those solar panels to just pretty much always keep it charged.
Yeah.
I think it's a fantastic idea, and I hope they can get that all completely figured out.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but you'll get more chicks with the Roadster. It's been proven.
Yeah, he's got a point there. I used to call my muscle cars babe magnets. You know?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. On YouTube, Ray Johnson says, with Tesla FUSC4LIFE, does one incur supercharging idle fees? So free unlimited supercharging for life. Does one incur supercharging idle fees? If so, is it assumed to charge the credit card on file?
I don't know the answer to that, do you?
Off the top of my head, I don't. I happen to have a car that has free supercharging. I've never had an issue with idle fees, but part of that is I'm never there long enough to even get a full charge. I'll go for lunch, plug my car into the supercharger, and sometimes it's full, but most of the time it's not full when I'm coming back.
Seems like there's a logistics problem for Tesla, because if they gave you free supercharging, they never collected your credit card for any charging in the first place.
Right. But at the same time, if you are on one of their newer Tesla accounts, they've gotten to the point where you just about can't sign up for a Tesla account on the Tesla app without giving them that credit card information, even if you have free supercharging for life.
Gotcha.
So I don't know. That's a good question.
You know, in all fairness, Jesse, you just told me something yesterday that Kyle Connor came out with a video, and that the charging providers now are beginning to take harsh action toward anyone that is trying to charge 100%. What did that go like?
I'm not sure what you mean. The charging.
Well, there
providers?
was a they would only let you charge, I think you were saying, to a certain level, and then he proposed, why not just simply charge people from that point forward to 100%?
You know, that's an idea though, because we've talked about this before. When you're on a DC fast charger and your car gets above about 90%, it will typically slow the charging process down so that it's taking anywhere from 5 to 7 kilowatts an hour worth of charge. Typically, a DC fast charge, 90 to 100%, is slower than a level 2 charge from 90 to 100%.
Right. And in order to avoid the congestion at the charging stations, it would seem to make sense that if they limited it to 85% and then kicked you out, basically, you would then, avoid some of that congestion, because, like you say, it takes longer to go from that 85 to 100%.
Oh, absolutely. And even if the car, even though I think the cars talk back and forth and give percentages, Even if they didn't, they'd be really easy to do. If you're going to a DC fast charging station and you're pulling less than 10 kilowatts in your car, tack on an extra per minute surcharge. It'd be very easy to do.
This whole landscape of charging for electricity is going to change dramatically, I think, as the EVs take over.
Yeah, I think so too.
Niels is saying, very surprised by Tesla stock. Thought it would cost down to $100 because fewer want EVs apparently in both U.S. and Europe. Now, too, despite the higher gas prices.
You know, a couple things on that, Niels. First was when about a month ago you were on vacation, we took a look at several companies and what the EVs are doing in several companies. Outside of Volkswagen and Tesla, virtually all companies are seeing double-digit and in some cases triple-digit growth in their EV sales. So the press slowdown that everyone has been talking about isn't nearly as much of a slowdown as you would think. The other thing, of course, is Tesla recently beat analyst expectations, both in terms of production and sales for the second quarter of 2024. And it was by a fairly wide margin. It surprised people quite a bit.
And then, of course, you have next month, you have the release of the taxi.
Yes.
The full self-driving taxi. And it's possible that people are beginning to realize that unlike these other EV manufacturers, Aptera, Lucid, even Rivian, that Tesla is much, much more than that. And if they're only focused on, the EV portion of what Tesla is doing, that's probably the wrong long-term view to take on a stock like Tesla. When you have, robotics coming into play, you've got the robo-taxi coming into play, the semis, which they're now getting ready to, go into higher volume production up in Nevada. It's just a different company. You can't apply the same rules. And then, of course, you have the things that don't directly tie into Tesla, but that the Tesla or that, Elon is involved in, from Starlink, SpaceX, the
Boring Company.
Neuralink. Yeah.
Neuralink. I totally agree with you there. And I personally think that part of the pricing on the stock now, and I think part of the reason why it's going up, is that Tesla announced record revenues and profits with their stationary batteries.
Yeah. And the old acronym in the market, what FOMO, fear of missing out, is now kicking in. And of course, while that's going on, you have the short sellers bailing left and right, buying stock to get rid of their positions, right?
Yeah.
So it's a perfect storm right now for Tesla and for the investors that hold the shares, it seems.
My hope is that it continues to either hold steady or go up. At some point, it'll hit some resistance. I think there's a certain level of rising that's going on in the EV industry as a whole.
Niels is cracking me up. He's saying, my 1931 Ford Model A gets all the chicks I need, though I'm a certain age.
I like that. Good one. Good one. On Instagram, EV Smoke ATX says, yes, even with unlimited supercharging, you will still incur idle and fees. They will not let you charge unless you have a valid card on file. I work for Tesla too. There you go. Thank you very much for the answer there.
All right. YouTube Highlander says, I've been camping for the last month, and one of the folks I bumped into, I'll send a picture, bought a Tesla used, and he still gets free charging network. Talk about a bargain. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. In the news, the Dutch apparently are talking about half of the gasoline stations are expected to close in the next decade. And, the obvious reason is that electric cars are starting to take over the market. They say that the gas stations they have now, they have both self-serve unmanned, and they have, with some of the other the items that come with going to a gas station. Like here, we've got QT, for example.
Yeah, convenience stores and stuff like that.
Right. They say that earnings in the future will be insufficient to keep the 4,100 gas stations going. So there will only be about 2,000, they feel, in 10 years. It is, and it's mainly the small unmanned petrol stations that will disappear, they say. They talk about surge in fuel prices is another problem that they're facing in Europe because of the Russian invasion of Ukraine and the energy costs going up. Um, so, long-term decline, they say owners are trying, now this is the gas station owners, are trying to maintain turnover by increasing their sales of food and beverages, even maintenance services and car washes. But the long-term business model of independent stations will be difficult to maintain. Of course, if they switch over to providing charging stations for EVs and keep all of that infrastructure, that may be the ticket for success for them.
You know, that's what Shell stations are doing here in the States. They're every station they build has EV charging as well as gasoline and diesel sales.
You know, they have another interesting statistic here. They say a new car remains in the Dutch fleet for an average of 19 years. The last petrol and diesel cars will come onto the market in 2034. They've adopted that cessation of any more manufacturing by 2035, and they will stay on the road until approximately 2053 based on that prediction.
So that means that there's every chance that in our lifetimes, because this is just a supply and demand issue, these stations are going to, a lot of these stations are going to go away. We're going to see electric charging stations become more ubiquitous, both in quantity of charge ports and in the number of stations than gas stations are today. Can you imagine seeing an EV charging station on every corner like you see gas stations now?
You know, I can see that when it's also tied to certain types of businesses. When you take a restaurant, for example, that wants to attract customers, putting in charging infrastructure would definitely improve their ability to get customers. Hotels learned that a decade ago when they began to put in destination chargers at their facilities, recognizing there's a certain clientele that can afford that $180,000 Tesla Model S that they want as a customer at their hotel. So they put in charging infrastructure.
Right. And that is going to continue on. So it might not be the corner gas station where all the charging ports end up. It might be the entity that goes out and builds a parking garage because they know that people are going to be parked there for a couple of hours, and they would rather have their clients be electric vehicle owners who are willing to pay to charge their cars and potentially incur idle fees while they're parked there for longer term times. That quick in and out convenience store is not as conducive to electric vehicle charging, even in the future when the charge times get faster, as something like a parking garage or a hotel or a restaurant where charging simply becomes part of the experience.
Right.
We'll have to get an update for next week on that Milliways one in California.
Oh, yeah.
The drive-in movie theater. We'll see what the progress is on that one.
Yeah, that could be a boilerplate for what these things eventually morph into, a bit of entertainment for the entire family, not just the car charge.
Yes. So, wow, we are almost at time here already. We wanted to talk a little bit about the Tesla production. We've touched on it. This is kind of the reason that Tesla stock is up. Tesla announced, they produced 410,000 cars in the second quarter of this year. They sold more than that. I think it was something around 430,000 cars. And street estimates were that both numbers were going to be below the 400,000 level. That is one of the reasons that the quarterly production is, that the Tesla stock is going up as much as it is. Thanks for pulling that graph up.
Yeah, it shows a trend there, does it not? And the magic number currently is, I guess, 2 million cars per year. And the prediction is that 2024 may not be the year that they reach that 2 million mark.
It's looking like they probably won't, but I would say never say never at this point. It's not that Tesla doesn't have the capabilities. Right now, it may be that sales and actual demand is driving production more than the capabilities to produce. If they do hit the 2 million, it's going to be really, really close.
They say that the original estimates for 2024, and that was based on production capacity. They had it ranged at 2 million to 2.7 million cars per year. Well, the high end of that range now they say is off the table. They say if we stick with Q3 and Q4 estimates that we currently have, that brings the year in at 1.91 million. Well, that's just 90,000 shy of the 2 million milestone. So you're right. If they kick in, if the demand continues or increases, and they kick in some additional production, they could make that 2 million this year. Yeah.
They also said that the environment's getting more favorable. Interest rates are starting to fall in Europe, and there's talk about interest rates finally starting to fall in the U.S. as well.
Right. We touched on this briefly. Tesla is preparing for construction at the Giga Nevada semi factory. It will be more high volume semi production, and I think the whole world is waiting for something like that. Get the diesel semis off the road. Instagram, we haven't had that question in at least a half a dozen shows. Del Valley 7591, why the sunglasses? Well, we are going to eventually release a video that explains what started the sunglasses. And there's been a lot of conjecture as to why. One of them is that we're artificial intelligence and our eyes glow red, and we're trying to hide that because we want to appear more human. The other was that we have, since the state of Arizona now legalized marijuana, our eyes are bloodshot red. So we're hiding that.
I remember that one.
But we will eventually reveal, and we will let everyone know with a video, and we'll see how that flies.
A couple more comments we have, both from Highlander here. Zach and Jesse, also known as Tesla Time News, they do a fantastic job of showing the Tesla superchargers globally at the end of the show. That's a cool idea.
Yeah.
And then he says, of course, kindness is always free. And thank you for mentioning. So, of course, thank you, Highlander.
Yeah. Well, I think we've come to the end of the show.
I think we're ready for this one. We've got the Roadster Show coming up in about a half hour.
Yeah, join us for that. Thank you for being here and engaging, and we'll see you next week.
Take care.